Okay, I need you to get that bell work finished up and turned in the next minute. If you don't know, that is perfectly okay because we have not gone over any
Ain't the answers in the...
There are keywords that should help you figure it out, yes.
Did you start?
But, so, yes.
What video did you talk about?
Hyperbole, guys. Okay. Again, as long as you have guessed, you're good. By the end of class, you should be able to answer this correctly.
I already did.
So we're not going to go over answers now because you're about to watch a little video that has the answers in it. Hey, Mona, can you pass it out? Okay, Maimona's passing out the sheet for the video. I'm passing out the speech we're going to read really quickly after the video. So just set what I'm passing out to the side until I ask you to get it back out. Tomorrow I pass my page back. All right, during this video, I will pause it when the definitions are on the screen that you need to write down. I forgot what I was going to say. The bell work is still on the screen right now. I haven't even moved it. I'm about to, but... I'm not going to keep it paused for super long, so make sure you're paying attention and writing when I pause it.
Oh, wait, do you got extra pens? Give me some.
I have pencils.
Oh. Wow. Wow.
Fell out of my hand. Okay. Trinity, can you get the light? This is as loud as the video goes, so make sure that you're quiet.
Did you ever notice how many times a day you try to persuade someone? Sit down right now, mister, and do your homework. What do you mean the insurance will only pay 50%? I've been paying premiums to you guys for years. Trust me, there's no product on the market right now as good as ours. Hey, Tom, any chance you can keep your dog in your own yard? It happens a lot, but did you know you can become better at this? Much better. In fact, anyone can, because persuasion is a skill, and skills are learnable. To get started, consider using a process that's withstood the test of time. More than 2,300 years ago, the philosopher Aristotle showed that there are 3 key drivers of persuasion. His Greek terms were ethos, logos, and pathos, and they remain to this day among the most useful ways to get people from no to yes, in your personal life or in your work life, with your friends, your kids, your coworkers, your customers, your legislators, even your mother-in-law. But perhaps the best way to explain this is by example. Let's take an especially tough one to demonstrate the power of this approach. Something like persuading a suspect to confess to shoplifting a cart of groceries. Let's call the guy Jason. Now, what's going to cause Jason to tell Detective Dave, yes, I did it, when Jason's inclined to say, no, you got the wrong guy? Well, there are actually dozens of approaches that Detective Dave could take, but the simplicity of Aristotle's framework cuts through all of that and gives Dave a time-honored process that just works. Aristotle's first principle of persuasion is this: the person delivering the message has to be credible.
That's your first definition.
If I don't trust you, or if I don't like you, or if I don't think you know what you're talking about, then it doesn't really matter what you say.
So yeah, they're not very long, so I'm not going to leave it paused very long. It also goes back. It also, each new definition, you can still see the old definition, so if you end up missing a word, you can get it the next time it's up on the screen. If you'll notice, the way he's saying the words is different from how I'm pronouncing them. He says ethos. It doesn't come out that way when I go to say it. Because the professors and teachers who taught me this always said ethos, logos, and pathos, and that's how pretty much everyone says it. Except for the guy in the video.
So that's probably how they use it pronounce.
It probably is closer to the original pronunciation, yes. But we like to change the pronunciation of words in this country. Okay.
I'm probably going to reject it. That's ethos, the attributes of the speaker. Are you believable or not? Do you really have my best interest in mind or just your own? So to use this, Detective Dave might say something like, look, Jason, I've been doing this for 25 years, and I'm tired of seeing young guys like you go to jail for a first offense. I know you're only trying to take care of your family, so just write down your confession, and I'll put in a good word with the prosecutor. Well, maybe he gets the confession, and maybe he doesn't. Kind of depends on whether Jason finds Dave to be believable, whether Dave has ethos. The second driver of persuasion is the quality of the message itself. Does it make sense? Is it sufficiently supported with convincing evidence? Does it have what Aristotle called logos? A logic and consistency that the other person will find compelling.
Oops. A little too late. There we go. So this is what I think Olivia said. The words are in the sentences for the bell work. Logos, logical. There are easy ways to remember them. If you think of ethos as ethical, that's the quick way to remember that one. Because it's ethical to believe somebody who's credible. Someone who's not credible giving us a spiel is unethical.
That the other person will find compelling. Detective Dave might say, look, Jason, we have you on video shoplifting. If you cooperate and confess, you're probably looking at a fine. If you don't, it's at least 30 days in prison, maybe a whole year if the judge is in a bad mood. What do you say? There's an obvious logic to Dave's argument, and as long as Jason thinks Dave is credible, that he's being truthful about the video and the likely sentences, then Dave might get his confession. But if he still doesn't get it, there's a third way. And some people think it's the most powerful of all. It's called pathos, and in plain English, it means appealing to the emotions of the person you're trying to persuade. Tug at their heartstrings with a story. Show them pictures that produce tears, or generate anger or fear to change their mind and their decision.
The biggest mistake I see with this is people thinking ethos is emotional. Pathos is emotional, ethos is ethical.
But it says the message touches the emotion, meaning they react to it.
Yes, meaning the way the author writes, you feel what the other feels.
Yeah.
So they're saying something to make you angry, or showing you a picture to make you angry, or to make you sad.
To make you feel the way you feel.
Whatever emotions they're feeling, they want you to feel the same way.
Mr. Holman,
Yes.
you know you said ethos is ethical and logos is logical.
Yes.
Where's the way when we talk about
You just have to remember it's the other one.
the other one?
Yeah, there's not a word to remember. Pathos, emotional. There's not really one there.
That's okay, Jason, Dave could say. You don't have to confess to anything. We have your kids in another room, and I'm pretty sure we can find a way to get them to tell us what you did. Now, chances are the detective will finally get what he needs. In fact, pathos is so powerful that Dave might get a confession even if Jason is innocent. So be careful how you use it. Ethos, logos, and pathos. Ancient ideas, but they solve modern problems, whether it's an interrogation or an interview for a job. If you're serious about becoming more persuasive, it makes sense to start here.
Okay, so that's the end of the video. So that's, if you wanted to write something else down, I gave you that space at the bottom. Might be helpful for you to know these other things, like This is an ancient idea. This is thousands of years old. People have been using these for thousands of years. Does everybody have what they want from the video, or do you need a few more seconds? This Holman. No. No. She's not. Okay, yep. Keep your notes for now. You'll turn them into the last victory at the end. Trinity can get the lights again. Alright, now just set the notes to the side and get out the copy of the speech that I passed out before and told you to put to the side. This is just one page front and back. I'm going to read through it really quickly. This is the next text we're going to analyze, pull apart, figure out what it means, all of that. Today, we're just reading it.
And then we're done.
And then I'm going to show you an example of each of those techniques from this, and you're going to have to figure out which one it is. We'll come back to this tomorrow. So if you have not already, please put your name on this. This is your copy for the rest of the week. You're going to just turn it in every day and get it back every day. Okay, so this is his second inaugural address. We just had an inauguration last Friday, so y'all know what the inauguration is, the swearing in ceremony. This is the one that's at the end of the Civil War. So he actually references his first one throughout the second one. This is actually very short for being an inaugural address, and that's because he says there are other things that we need to worry about, and he's not going to waste everybody's time talking and talking and talking. Okay. So everybody should be looking at the top. Follow along as I read, please. Fellow countrymen, at this second, appearing to take the oath of the presidential office, there is less occasion for an extended address than there was at the first. Then a statement, somewhat in detail, of course to be pursued, seemed fitting and proper. Now, at the expiration of 4 years, during which public declarations have been constantly called forth on every point and phase of the great contest which still absorbs the attention and engrosses the energies of the nation, little that is new could be presented. The progress of our arms, upon which all else chiefly depends, is as well known to the public as to myself, and it is, I trust, reasonably satisfactory and encouraging to all, with high hope for the future. No prediction in regard to it is ventured. On the occasion corresponding to this 4 years ago, all thoughts were anxiously directed to an impending civil war. All dreaded it, all sought to avert it. While the inaugural address was being delivered from this place, devoted altogether to save the Union without war, insurgent agents were in the city seeking to destroy it without war, seeking to dissolve the Union and divide effect by negotiation. Both parties deprecated war, but one of them would make war rather than let the nation survive, and the other would accept war rather than let it perish. And the war came. We're on the back now, so make sure you're there. 1/8 of the whole population were colored slaves, not distributed generally over the Union, but localized in the southern part of it. These slaves constituted a peculiar and powerful interest. All knew that this interest was somehow the cause of the war. To strengthen, perpetuate, and extend this interest was the object of which the insurgents could rend the Union, even by war, while the government claimed no right to do more than restrict the territorial enlargement of it. Neither party expected for the war the magnitude or the duration which it has already attained. Neither anticipated that the cause of the conflict might cease with, or even before, the conflict itself should cease. Each looked for an easier triumph, and a result less fundamental and astounding. Both read the same Bible and prayed to the same God, and each invokes his aid against the other. It may seem strange that any men should dare to ask a just God's assistance in wringing their bread from the sweat of other men's faces, but let us judge not, that we not be judged. The prayers of both could not be answered. That of neither has been answered fully. The Almighty has his own purposes. Woe unto the world because of offenses. For it must needs be that offenses come, but woe to that man by whom the offense cometh. If we shall suppose that American slavery is one of those offenses, which in the providence of God must needs come, but which having continued through his appointed time, he now wills to remove, and that he gives to both North and South this terrible war, as the woe due to those by whom the offense come, shall we discern therein any departure from those divine attributes, which the believers in a living God always ascribe to him. Fondly do we hope, fervently do we pray, that this mighty scourge of war may speedily pass away. Yet if God wills that it continues until all the wealth piled by the bondman's 250 years of unrequited toil shall be sunk, and until every drop of blood drawn with the lash shall be paid by another drawn with the sword. As was said 3,000 years ago, so still it must be said. The judgments of the Lord are true and righteous altogether, with malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right, as God gives us to see the right. Let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds, to care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow and his orphan, to do all which may achieve and cherish a just and lasting peace among ourselves, and with all nations. So again, it's okay if there are parts of that you didn't understand, especially in that last page, that last paragraph or two. He's very repetitive and he's quoting scripture, and we'll talk about that later. But what you need to know, if you didn't already realize this, Abe Lincoln is a very, very, very well-known public speaker, similar to how Frederick Douglass was with the speeches we read last week. He is applauded for being very persuasive when he speaks. So he uses all three of those types of persuasion that we just reviewed. So this is your first example. 1/8 of the whole population were colored slaves. Is this ethos, is it logos, or is it pathos? And you need to have a reason why in mind. So not only do you need to know the answer, you need a reason why.
It's locals.
I'm going to ask everybody to have an answer, so if you're not sure, come to a decision, because I'm going to ask for a show of hands. And I expect everybody to raise their hands, and as second period found out, I'll ask 4 times until I get everybody to raise their hands, so make sure you have your answer.
I mean logos.
Ethos, logos, or pathos? If you think it is ethos, raise your hand. If you think it is logos, raise your hand. If you think it's pathos, raise your hand. Okay, that was like 6 people, so let's try it again. If you think it's ethos, raise your hand.
Let me raise your hand first.
If you think it's pathos, raise your hand. If you already had your hand up, put your hand down.
Come on, Tia, man.
If you think it's logos, raise your hand.
No, pathos.
It's logos. Look at echo.
Okay, look back at the definitions. Which one is about statistics and facts?
It's logical. It's logos.
Logos. Logos.
Okay, maybe.
We have a fact, we have a statistic that 1/8 of the whole population were colored slaves. We can look this up, we can verify it. So that makes it logos. That's a fact, it's based in logic. Next one, all thoughts were anxiously directed to an impending civil war, all dreaded it, all sought to avert it. Get your answer, is it ethos, logos, or pathos?
Ethos.
Get your answer in your brain. I'm gonna ask you to raise your hands again. So come to a decision.
Oh, no, wait.
Give you about 30 seconds to think. Remember, you're coming up with your answer and also why. Okay, if you think it's ethos, raise your hand. If you think it's logos, raise your hand. If you think it's pathos, raise your hand.
I didn't raise my hand.
I got a question.
Those of you who said ethos, because that was most of you, why?
Because everybody else raised their hand.
They delivered the message.
Someone who
to
said
be
ethos
credible.
who had, okay, so you think this is him saying he's credible? This is him establishing his credibility? No, it's all in quotation marks because it's an excerpt from the speech.
That's why it's delivering the message.
Does it matter?
I put the quotation marks in. The quotation marks weren't in the original.
Nah.
I pulled this
I
as a
think
quote out.
Is it because he's
That's everybody.
he said that. I don't think it's
It's
that.
directed.
Okay, so just look at the
He
two
said
options
the
we have left.
message.
Because you should have realized that it wasn't logos because we already did logos. So is it ethos or is it pathos?
Ethos.
I had more of you say ethos than pathos. If you said pathos, there was like two of you.
I think
There were three of you who said pathos. If you said pathos, why? Olivia, why? Okay, what specifically? Which words? And that is exactly right. It is pathos. It's emotional, anxious, dreaded. These are very, very strong, emotionally charged words. So the three of you who said pathos were correct.
So did they get extra credit? Because I was one of those three.
We're not those three. Okay, so obviously this last one is ethos because it's the only one left. Who can tell me why this is ethos?
Because
So,
at the beginning.
What I'm saying is, the very beginning, he starts it by saying, fellow countrymen.
It's delivering the
How
message.
does that, he's delivering the message, he's delivering the whole message, so what other reason, why is this, what is he doing?
He's trying to send a message.
What is he trying to say by,
I stress back.
keep in mind, this is the President of the United States talking to the average citizen. So, a president could get up there and say, hello, subordinates. I am so much better than you are. You'll never be on my level. Would that make him credible?
No.
No.
In his eyes, yes.
So this is a way to make him credible. He is putting himself on the same level as the average citizen. He's saying, yes, I'm the leader, but first and foremost, I'm a citizen, just like you. So fellow countrymen, we are the same. We all want the same things. So he's establishing his credibility by not holding his rank above them. Does that make sense to everyone? Yes? No?
Yes.
Okay, I need 2 volunteers.
Me!
Olivia, Drash. Everybody, you should already have your names on that paper. I need those who are going to go around and collect them. Not your notes page.
Newspaper?
Not your notes page. And I need one other volunteer.
Me.
There are note cards over on my desk. I need you to pass one out to
We
everybody.
should have one on this paper.
Yes, you should have your name on your inaugural address because you're going to get it back every day this week. So before they come get it, make sure you put your name on it.
What these?
The one that's folded in half just give to me.
That's how it is.
That's my example one.
Alright, girl. You see that shit? Anybody see that, girl?
Specific, just hand them out. I don't want people to start fighting over what color they get. They just happen to be the only note cards I have right now.
Just sign your name right here. I'm gonna show you something. Here we ready.
They can't remember the recording.
Grim. I'll show you one.
No.
What's about?
Put your name.
You don't have your license?
I have a license. To renew it, we have to pass it.
That's how you said that?
But if you choose not pass it?
If you don't pass, you get another chance.
Oh.
But I don't want to have to do this again next year. That would be no fun.
Just open.
Last week.
Good time.
But no, I was here for
All right. Does everybody have a notebook? Or notebook? Does everybody have a note card?
Yes.
All right.
You didn't get one?
I know.
Everybody else got one?
First thing I need you to do is take your note card and fold it in half,
Long ways, short ways.
like this.
Color on the outside.
Doesn't matter. Darn.
I don't think I got waves.
I'm eventually gonna cut these in half, but I don't want you to do that. I want you to just fold it in half. These are going to be cards for a board game that we're gonna play as a review tomorrow. So you're gonna come up with the questions for the board game, or the examples for the board game. Okay,
What we doing?
right now, I don't care on the back, on the front, or what. Somewhere, put your name. It doesn't have to be on both sides, just somewhere put your name so I can give you credit for doing this. It doesn't matter. As long as I can read it, you're good. It's more legible than your name normally is. Okay. Video, please. Yes.
It's too late.
Okay. Okay. So what I need you to do is pick 2 examples of one type. So what I mean by that is if logos is super easy for you.
Yep.
If logos is easy for you and the other 2 are challenging, then do one logos. But only one. I want you to try one that's more difficult for you. So pick whichever one is easiest for you. And right now, on the side that doesn't have the color, on one half, write that. Whichever one is the easiest for you. Ethos, logos, or pathos. I want you to write it on one side or the other.
What, like,
On the back, just write the word. Ethos, logos, or pathos. Whichever one is the easiest for you to create an example of. So it's not identifying this time, you're coming up with the answer this time.
I'm messed up. I'll put my name in this part.
No, it didn't matter where your name goes.
He's right. I can put this on here.
No, I still want ethos on the back.
I'm building on the other
It
side.
doesn't matter where your name's gonna get taken off after I give you credit for doing this. Okay. Now I want you to pick the one that you think is most difficult and put it on the other side. So we should have one, no, I mean on the other, so on the back, one on each half. Your name should be on there, but you should still have room for another word. Because I know your name is not that big. So you should have the easiest one for you and the hardest one for you. This is a personal preference.
Don't say that. No, don't say that because I said that to
I
you.
didn't say that to you, though.
Mario's back there just talking about something unrelated. Okay, so you should have 2 words. They should not be the same. You're not going to do the one that's in the middle. You're going to do one example of the hardest one example of the easiest one.
We got ready.
So start with your easiest one. So if you picked, say, logos for the easiest one.
pathos for the example?
No. If you picked logos for the easiest one, you're gonna, whatever side, so if you put logos here, then here is where you're going to write. So make sure that when you flip it over, it has the answer. Does that make sense?
No.
Yes.
So whichever side you wrote, so say you wrote logos here, you wanna make sure the example of logos is, so where I cut these, it'll be on the back still. So what you missed is on one side of the back, put the hardest one for you. So if logos is the hardest, or whatever, whichever one's hardest, put that on one side. On the other side, whichever one's easiest.
So like this.
So you're gonna have one word on each side of the back.
Why the phone?
Because it's gonna be cut in half eventually.
Here, keep up.
Probably one
Yes.
here, one there.
But for now, so they don't get lost and you don't have to write your name everywhere.
Okay.
So if I'm picking logos, so I have logos right here. So over here, I'm going to write a fact.
What kind of fact?
I'm gonna get my phone out and I'm gonna Google a topic that I find interesting. And I'm gonna find a fact about that topic and I'm gonna write that fact out.
Right.
Or I'm gonna look around this room and say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 boys here in this room today. It's a fact. It can be verified. That's logos.
I did eat those.
So if you did pathos, you're gonna, my example for pathos is, again, I'll write pathos. And then here, I'm not gonna actually create my own example. I'm gonna use an example that already exists, which you can also do. I'm going to say, you can create one, but you can use an existing one. So I'm gonna say pathos, and then right here, I'm going to say those Humane Society sad animal commercials. You know the commercials where they show the puppies that are looking all depressed in cages? Those are pathos. They're trying to get you to feel upset. They want to persuade you to either donate money or adopt these dogs. They're persuading you using pathos. So I didn't even have to come up with my own example. I just used one that was there already. I'm not going to give you an example for the last one.
Come on, please.
And I don't want to see the examples I gave as your examples.
I'll just lose the animal.
So you can also make up your own pathos. So you just have to think about a situation and write a sentence that uses it.
For ethos, it's really kind of deliverance. It's delivering messages.
For ethos, it would be something like a congressman speaking about a law would be an example of ethos, because a congressman is credible.
Right.
He knows about laws. Or a teacher talking about whatever subject they teach.
The preamble. For ethos, the preamble.
Okay, so what we do when we done?
I guess.
Welcome to Hong
Like the
Kong.
preamble of the Constitution?
Welcome to Hong Kong. You know what? Cause I'm about to quit.
I'm not saying that, so I,
For ethos, I put dear Jesus.
like you're praying.
No. It's delivering the message to Jesus.
But the whole point of ethos is that it's delivering the message in a credible way. So how are you going to establish your credibility? So in the long run of things, you could say that anybody is credible to talk to Jesus. But if you want to have a strong example for this, you could say that a priest. Obviously, a priest is going to be credible when it comes to that topic.
You're gonna get that.
Okay. We have 8 minutes until the bell. What I'm going to do next, there is a homework assignment tonight. I'm going to pass it out. It is the same assignment for everybody, same sheet, but everybody has a shape at the top corner. You are going to read the directions, match it to your shape to figure out which ones you have to do. For the homework, that's not for this card. This card is your exit ticket, technically. So this, on your way out the door, is going to go in that teal basket on the table. So don't hand it to me, don't put it in the tray, don't put it anywhere else, put it in the basket. Make sure, again, your name is on there somewhere, because I can't give you credit for it unless it has your name on it. I'm going to come around, pass out the homework. You will have the remaining time to finish this and get a head start on your homework if you need it.
Okay.
Your notes, if you know those definitions by heart now, turn the notes in. If you need those definitions to be able to do the homework, which is review,
Do we get credit for it?
you do, but you can turn them in tomorrow. Or you can get your phone out, take a picture of the definitions, and then turn it in. Do you have your glasses?
Classwork.
I can color a piece of paper, right?
Not teachers.
It doesn't work that way.
You talking about, you talking to me?
Okay, none of those people are
Teacher,
here.
did you just hear what I just said?
Yeah, no, one of these to each of those people. Except she's not here, so you just give me one back.
Here.
Thank you. Star. Did you send her monthly exams?
If you memorize that,
Yeah, the notes, if you're turning them in today, go in the classwork tray.
What about this little ticket
You can
thing?
turn them in tomorrow with your homework. The note card goes into the stuff there.
What is the odds? What is odds? And the where? This is complete the odds. Oh,
The odd numbers.
what's the odds?
1, 3, 5, 7.
I'll do it.
That's not yours.
My mom said,
Uh-huh.
Did I put his name on more than one?
you know what she's doing.
I thought you, apparently I want you to do two of them.
Alright, I'll do it to practice.
It's the same thing. Here, I do want you to do this one, not that one.
That one easy. Is that one easy?
This one's easier.
Can I
Let me
get that
Let me
one?
get that one.
Uh,
Is this easier than all of them? Look, teacher.
Did anybody not get one?
I get it.
I put one on your desk.
I got a diamond.
So what I have to do?
Yeah, my diamonds aren't, and my rectangles and my square, they're not perfect shapes, so if you're not sure what they are, ask. It should be pretty obvious, but
That's all.
I drew them right, I don't have the pen. Do you have some with the right-
Yeah, I got it.
As your father, what is that? Ethos logos or pathos?
What? You can fill this out and I'll sign it.
Hey, teacher,
Okay,
teacher, wait.
so. What the directions say
You know what? I need my.
is if you have a circle, you complete only one item from each section. There are 4 sections. If you have a square, you complete 2 items from each section. If you have a triangle, you complete the odds only.
I don't know what I got.
If you have a star, you complete the evens only. And if you have a diamond, you complete all.
You
It
said
says
if you
on the
have
star,
a
it
star,
says
you
odds.
I should give it me a diamond.
Look.
I said star, complete the evens only.
So you said
Triangle, colon, complete the odds only. Star,
What does it say that in?
it says the shape first and then the direction.
It says complete the odds only, but it says star right here.
Who else got diamond?
Look, man, I'm not retarded.
You got diamond?
Shape, then the direction. So your shape, triangle, complete the odds only. Star, complete the evens only.
Who else got
is mine
diamond?
the square or a diamond?
Okay,
That's a
there was a reason for me giving you the shape I gave you. This was not just
So what's
me
evens?
randomly deciding. So don't try to trade papers and get away with it because I know who had what shape. And there's a reason I gave those people those shapes.
Why? Is it because? Why? Is it hard? Some of them is easier than the others.
I didn't know you-
I got the star. Is that
It- It depends on the type of question. Some people got a specific type of question because they would struggle more with the other types. So it's just, it's coming up with what would be most helpful for each person. You get out in 3 minutes. So if your card is done, you can either turn it in now or wait till you leave and get it on your way out. Take advantage of this time. Start your homework. If you have questions, ask them now. So you don't do it wrong. If there's something you're confused on, ask before you go. Remember, you can also anytime email me a question if you're lost when you're trying to do
Why do we
something.
gotta do all? Diamond's gotta do all of them. Who else got a diamond?
Me.
Alright, what's number 3?
I didn't read it before.
I didn't. I know number 1 is pathos for sure. Number 2, number 3 is.
Just because you all have different numbers to do, it's still the same amount of points for each person.
So what if we get these wrong?
Keep that in mind. Just do the very best you can. Again, this is the first one. This is our first day talking about this in detail. we're gonna keep going with this for a couple more days, for at least the rest of the week. So it's okay if you get a couple rounds. It's not like, I'm not gonna feel like you're a terribly stupid person. We just started this, it is perfectly acceptable to miss some. The goal is by the end of this unit, you won't miss any.
Hey, let's talk. Is that Giselle's name up there?
Her name's up there.
I haven't updated grades.
She thought it was gonna say, oh, what's the name? She wanna say, you know, she always